If you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you are very interested in trying out on becoming Babywise with a baby who is older. So your baby isn't a newborn, you don't have a young baby, and you're wondering, like, is it too late? Can I do this? For whatever reason, you haven't had any kind of structure, or maybe you've had some structure, but it's not quite working out for you. Your baby isn't sleeping as well as you had hoped, and so you want to get started. When I had my first baby, I totally thought like, we don't need any kind of guidance. It'll just work out. We'll just wing it and everything's gonna be great. It wasn't great. He did not sleep well. It was really hard. And so we turned to Babywise when he was a little older also. The good news is it is not too late. You can absolutely start Babywise no matter what the age of your child, and you can get better sleep very soon. In this video, I'll give you all of the tips you need to be able to get started with Babywise at whatever age your baby is and get to great sleep. But first, introductions. Hello, my name is Valerie. I blog at babywisemom.com. I've been blogging there since the year 2007. I have 4 children who currently range in age from 12 to 19 years old. I love helping parents love parenting. I love helping them have success. So let's get started on your success with Babywise. Your first step needs to be to read the book. You have to do the reading. If you want to be able to have the success, you have to know what it is you're doing. So read up, understand the goals. It's really hard to achieve a goal if you don't know what the goal is. So you need to understand what you're doing, why you're doing it. The first, when I decided like we're gonna try Babywise with my oldest, I read this in one evening while I had a newborn. So, you don't have to like have everything memorized immediately, but you do want to know what you're doing. And so do a quick read, understand what's going on. Once you have that basic overview understanding, then it's time to make a plan. You need a plan. And that's probably a large part why you are here, is to get that plan. But you have these basics in Babywise. You have eat, playtime, and sleep. So you need a plan for how you're going to handle these things. What are you going to do? Get it down. It's really helpful to see sample schedules that people have used, so you kind of have an idea of like what's age appropriate, what's your goal. Again, we need the goals. So I have tons of sample schedules on my website, babywisemom.com, and you can find your current baby's age and look at the schedules that people were doing. And you won't get there right away, but you'll know like, this is what I'm working toward. You really, really want to focus on making sure your baby's having a full feeding, absolutely full, and then you have playtime. You want to make sure you have that wake time down correctly, and then sleep time. And you want your baby to be able and capable of falling asleep independently. So those are the three categories and like the 3 big goals within those. The first thing I would recommend that you do and that you focus on is that you have your pattern, like I talked about. Eat, play, sleep. Eat, play, sleep. That is what your day should be. Your day is eat, playtime, sleep. We're not feeding our baby to sleep. We're having that wake time between, and wake time really can be short, and your eating time is calculated with your playtime. So your wake time includes eating. So, a newborn that takes 25 minutes to eat but can only handle a 30-minute wake time only has 5 minutes of like play before it's time for sleep again. That's normal. So be aware of like what wake time ranges should be for your baby's age. But just the first thing, you've got to get in that pattern of eat, play, then sleep, and trust it. Trust the process. So many people really worry, like, if I don't feed my baby right before nap time, then my baby's not going to sleep as long because my baby's going to wake up from hunger. If you get a full feeding in, then they're not going to wake up like from hunger too early. Like, your baby should be hungry depending on the age, but most babies are around 3 hours. So your baby should be hungry every 3 hours. And so if your baby eats, has some playtime, and sleeps for 1.5 to 2 hours, they'll wake up at that 3 hour interval and they will be hungry, but that's okay because they should be hungry. So trust the process. So many people have done this process. It works. You just need the first focus. Your first focus is just that pattern. We're eating, we're playing, we're sleeping. That's goal number 1. It is worth noting that not all ages follow exactly eat, wake, sleep, because naps start to get dropped as babies get older. So your first nap is typically dropped around 4 months old. And so if you are still on a 3-hour feeding schedule, you will have a point later in the day where baby wakes up from nap, you feed them, they have playtime, they eat again, and then they go to bed for the night. And there may be some more playtime between that last feeding too, depending on exactly how the schedule is going. But depending on the exact age of your baby, you may not have exactly eat, wake, sleep, but unless you have a toddler we're talking about right now, you will at the very least have 2 naps a day. If you have a baby, you're having at least 2 naps a day. Even a 12-month-old should have 2 naps a day. And so you should wake up in the morning, eat, playtime, nap, eat, playtime, nap. And then the evening, depending on the age of your baby, can look different. Okay, the next thing you really want to focus on is writing everything down. Write down, keep track of what time your baby eats every day, what your baby does for playtime during the day, what time your baby went down for the nap, how that went. Information is so helpful to you to figure out what your baby's needs are, what works and what doesn't. You're gonna think you're gonna be able to remember, but you just can't. Like, you have mom brain, you need to write it down. You're tired, you're exhausted, it's a lot to track. This isn't the only thing going on in your life. You have other concerns in life. And so you need to really be sure you know exactly what's happening. That's the way that you can analyze data, is if you can see it. If you're just trying to remember it, we don't always remember things accurately. But if we write it down exactly as it's happening when it happens, then we can get accurate data to accurately analyze what's happening, what's good, what's bad. If you need help with this, I do have a book of logs. It's an ebook that you can purchase. It is very inexpensive, and also you just print it out. And it's what I used with all of my babies. I created the whole thing with my first child when I was doing this, and then I used those logs with all of my other babies. And it just makes it so much easier to be able to track and understand what works for that baby and what doesn't. All right, your next big goal is to have your naps happening in the right location. In Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child, Dr. Weisbluth talks about the location of sleep and how restorative it is. And he says that sleep is the most restorative when it happens in a stationary location. That means your baby taking a nap in a front carrier, or with you holding them, or in a swing. That sleep is not as restorative to your baby as sleep in a crib or in a bassinet. So your goal is working toward your baby sleeping in a crib or bassinet, something that isn't moving, something that is stationary. And so that can involve some sleep training, that can involve changing patterns up and habits that you've developed. You might have some short naps initially, but as you stick with it and work with it, then your baby will get it. So you really want to start every single nap in the crib. And if your baby wakes up early from that nap, then you can consider like rocking your baby back to sleep or using a swing at that point to finish the nap off so your baby doesn't get overly tired. But you want to start every nap in the crib. Your next step is to have patience. This will not be 100% overnight. Now, how long it will take before you have like that awesome sleep and predictability you're looking for will really vary depending on like how consistent you are, how flexible your baby is, how old your baby is. Older babies have longer habits to break, right, than a younger baby. And some kids just are really a lot more flexible than others. And so some babies may like take to this right away, and others may push back or may take longer to get it. But I will say that in my experience, like we saw immediate improvement. It wasn't where we wanted to be like in the end immediately, but it was vast improvement. We went from him like really not really even sleeping much in the night at all to only waking up once at night. So it went from like a good night was him waking up every 2 hours to him waking up only once. And that was immediate. That was after 1 day of eat, wake, sleep. We got that right away. Naps were short still. It took several months before naps were not short. He had naps. So there's a good chance you'll see great improvement right away, but you won't meet like your end goal right away. My next tip for you to be able to have success is to dedicate some time to this process where you are eliminating distractions, eliminating disruptions. This is one people really find to be difficult, but it makes all the difference. If you can take 1, ideally 2 weeks, where you are not disrupting your baby's routine at all, and you are staying home and you are dedicating your time to this eat, wake, sleep, get naps down, get naps in the crib, you will see so much faster results. For us, when we started late, it was summertime, and as you know, there's a lot going on in the summer, and that's not the only time of year a lot happens. Like holidays are another hard time of year to be able to take 2 weeks to say like no disruptions to our routine. But so we were gone all the time. Every day he had disruptions. Every day things weren't consistent. And then finally, after a few months, I said, we have to give him some consistency. It's unfair to expect him to be able to get this down without making life very stable and consistent for him. And so once we took that time to give him that consistency and stability and predictability, he got it down. And then he was able to have those disruptions and go back to the routine. But it's impossible to go back to something you never had in the first place. So you have to give your baby that chance to develop that habit and get that base before your baby can even go back to it. So once you have that, then you can go out and have those disruptions, those late nights or those missed naps at times. But you can't do that while you're trying to establish something. Something else you really need to do is really think out, what are my sleep goals? What do I want from my baby? Do I want my baby to fall asleep independently? That is a big premise of Babywise, but a great thing about Babywise is that it's parent directed. And so if you don't want your baby to fall asleep independently, you don't have to. You have to understand like there are some sleep things that will not happen if your baby can't sleep independently. Like most likely will not happen if your baby can't sleep independently. But, you know, you can make that decision if you like. So do you want your baby to sleep independently? Do you want your baby to be able to sleep through the night? Do you want your baby to be able to take like a 2-hour long nap? So like think about what your goals are and then understand what's required in order to meet those goals. All of those goals will require some sort of process, some sort of dedication, some sort of time and effort. And giving what is required of that will help you meet that goal. Another thing is to be ready for curveballs because babies change a lot. It's just as soon as you get it, it changes. And babies are constantly getting older, getting bigger. They can sleep longer. They have sleep regressions. They have growth spurts. There are always things that are going to come along that are going to like disrupt the process or your progress, or it will feel like disruption, like a growth spurt feels like a great disruption. It's really just normal part of life, and a sleep regression is also a normal part of life. But during that regression, sleep is disrupted and looks weird and is confusing. But once that regression's over, then things go back to a normal, or you're able to establish a new normal. Just know curveballs are gonna happen. Like if you know that, then it's not so stressful. You're not like, oh no, everything is ruined forever. It's not ruined forever. Every single baby has had growth spurts, has had sleep regressions. You just, do your best to stick to what you can and then go back to either your new normal or your old normal. Sometimes babies go back to old normal once that's over. My final tip is to understand that your baby is going to be behind schedule with certain milestones, like sleeping through the night milestones, perhaps moving to a 4-hour schedule milestones or being ready to drop a dream feed milestones, your baby will probably be behind those things, like further behind than a baby would be who started Babywise right from birth. And this should make logical sense if you think about, like, let's say that you and your friend both decide to run a marathon. Your friend started January 1st in the preparation and you started June 1st. Well, on July 30th, you're not going to be as far along in ability to run a marathon as your friend who started months and months before you. So there's just a lot of growth and effort that has to happen. Some babies, you know, are the little wonder babies who do great and catch right up and have no problems. But most babies are further behind on milestones. It's just good to know that so that you don't become frustrated, because you know, it's a lot of work. Raising a baby is a lot of work, and following this pattern's a lot of work. It can at times seem like, would this just be easier just to wing it? I feel like for me, the answer is no. Maybe for you, the answer would be yes. But for me, the answer is no. Like, ultimately, it's not easier just to wing it, because a lot of difficulties with that I find the difficulties with keeping the schedule easier than the difficulties with winging it. But when you know, when you have proper expectations of, we won't be exactly where the book says we'll be if we didn't start exactly when the book says to start. All right, that wraps up starting Babywise Late guide. If you have any questions at all, feel free to drop them in the comments and I will answer. I have a lot of help on my blog at babywisemom.com and also on my YouTube channel. I have lots of videos there to help you out. And I've been answering questions since the year 2007. So if you have a question, it's probably already been answered. There's probably a blog post that tells you exactly what you're looking for. So I can help you find that answer and get on a great schedule and routine. And thanks for watching and have a great day.